Hey, what's up? Todd Valentine here, and today I'm going to unravel for you one of the mysteries of the universe. Specifically, I'm going to answer the question, where do shit tests come from? Now, we all know kind of intuitively what a shit test is, right? We know that it's these little sort of like congruence tests, these little hurdles that girls throw out to make you pass them in order to get into their pants. We know that when you pass one, the set gets massively better. We know that when you fail one, oftentimes the interaction's completely over. We also know that if the girl's giving you shit tests at all, it means you've done something right. If you're never getting shit tests, it means you're not getting on her radar as an attractive man. But the real question is, when a girl gives you a shit test, is this a conscious thing for her? Is this sort of like she realizes she likes you and she's actively trying to test you? Or is it an unconscious thing? And then specifically, what behaviors from you create these shit tests? Lastly, how is this useful information? Is it just like armchair pickup theory, some esoteric ivory tower shit? Or can this actually be used in the real world to massively improve your game? My contention is yes, and my contention specifically is this can help you get the hottest girls. Those of you who are stuck with the 6s and 7s and 8s and want to get those 9s and 10s, this theory, this idea will massively help you in that area, okay? So let's get on this. All right, now here is the definition of what causes a shit test. Very simply, it's this. A girl will give a shit test when her frame is threatened. So you look so utterly elegant, I had to say hi to you. You're welcome. I know it's a lot, I'm very overwhelming, but you know. When a girl's frame is threatened, she feels insecure, she feels unstable, she has this sort of view of the world that's supported her paradigm that she's lived by. When it's threatened, she will try to defend it, okay? And if she is successful in defending it, oftentimes that doesn't result very well for the guy in question, because oftentimes the girl's frame going in is, I'm special because I have a vagina, and every guy needs to impress me, work very hard to get me, and yeah, I'm a special snowflake, and he better step right. If that's her frame, that's going to be very difficult for you. That's a frame that's like, it's going to take multiple dates to get through. It's going to take a lot of societal conditioning. It's going to be a lot of bullshit down the road. All right, and it might not lead to the kind of interaction and kind of relationship you want, and quite frankly, not the type of relationship she wants, because that's a relationship where the guy's going to be emasculated and the girl won't be happy either. Okay, so as a man, you need to come with a better frame, and your frame usually is the princess chosen you, I like to say, but it's, I'm a high-value, cool guy, I'm bringing good things into your life, I'm going to give you an amazing experience, it's your job to be receptive of that, and it's your job to contribute in some way. Promise me that if you drug me and take advantage of me, you'll at least cuddle with my like limp, lifeless body afterwards. So what exactly is the criteria for getting on the girl's radar such that she will start to give you shit tests, such that you're actually eliciting them? Well, it takes two things. First is you must be a viable, reputable authority in her world. Secondly is you must make it in some way personal or relevant to her, okay? Those are the two characteristics. Let's talk about authority first. Theoretically, if a 5-year-old were to walk up to a hot girl and be like, you're not very pretty today, it might annoy the girl a little bit. She might like take a quick check in the mirror to make sure there's not some weird shit on her face. But on a fundamental level, it's not really deeply going to affect her because the 5-year-old was not a valid sexual prospect. It's not someone that has the authority to affect her. However, if it was some guy she'd had a crush on for months who said the same thing, she could be brought to tears, she could have her whole frame snapped, etc. Okay? So that viable authority matters. Now, how do you convey yourself as a viable authority? Well, one way would be to actually become that, to actually become a super high status man of the world, right? Become a celebrity, become a star athlete, something like that. But for most of us, that's not the most viable option. What we want to do instead is convey high value behaviors. So that's things like speaking in a nice loud tone of voice, not qualifying yourself too much, leading the interaction, having a life, things like that, okay? Things we all know, okay? So you want to convey value. Next is you need to make it relevant to her, and the best way to make it relevant to her is to make it personal. If I were to say to you, there's this one thing that you do that it's going to give you massive success in life or totally fuck up your life, and it could go either way, really, like you're one of very few people that do it, and do you know what this thing is? If you were to hear that, would you want to find out what the thing was? You probably would. In fact, you probably would want to find out that thing even if you didn't care that much about me, but especially if you believed I was an authority, especially if you believed I knew what I was talking about, damn straight you want to hear, because that information could literally change your life for the better or for the worse. So what you've done essentially is you become value and threat. And that's what gets on people's radar, is what is perceived as value or threat. There's a part of me that thinks that you can be really fun and cool and adventurous, and there's a part of me that thinks you could be that girl that's like never broken a rule in her entire life. Like maybe like one day you once turned your homework in like half an hour late. Okay, so all this theory is great. Lovely. Ivory tower theory. Now we know where shit tests come from. Good job, Todd. Way to regale us with your like intense nerdy pickup knowledge. Why the fuck do we care? Here's why. The hottest girls don't give shit tests. That's what makes them hard to game. Mediocre or low value girls, if you walk in, they're gonna immediately love you. Girls that are kind of like in the 7, 8, low 9 range, a lot of times they'll give a lot of shit tests. They'll be really bitchy, but if you know how to pass shit tests, those shit tests are actually leverage that helps you game them. So for guys who are smooth and congruent and have a strong frame, those girls are actually quite easy to game. But the 10s, they have a specific thing that they do that I call the hot girl blasé, which is they just refuse to engage with you. They just give you one-word answers, blank stares, tapping away on their cell phone, ignoring you, that sort of thing. Hot girl blasé. They do not give you shit tests. Now, why is it, given this theory, that they don't give you shit tests? It's because you have not become a relevant authority in their world, possibly, or because you have not made it personal to them, okay? So it's one of the two. Now, the relevant authority comes through your subcommunication, right? Are you being loud? Are you self-amusing, or are you trying to get in their world? Are you continuing to talk no matter what? Are you showing effectiveness in your actions? Are you flinching when they stare you in the eyes? These are all things that we've known for a long time, but they're very, very critical. Also, when you start talking about what you do for a living, are you conveying that you have a very average job and a very average life, or are you subtly conveying a cool, interesting life that they'd want to be a part of? These are all things you can do to convey that you are a viable authority, to convey that you're in the category of the type of guy that they date. Because a lot of 10s, a lot of the true 10s are really dating celebrities and athletes and billionaires and very successful, charismatic people. So you need to be conveying yourself in that category in order to be relevant, okay? Now that's very hard to do early on in the interaction, but it definitely helps if you can do it. It also helps if you can do things like have social proof. Have a girl on your arm when you walk over to her, so that way when you walk over, she sees, number one, you don't have an agenda, so you aren't trying to get something out of the interaction, but two, because you have the girl, because you're vouched for, you are a relevant authority in her world, okay? But here's the other thing that guys miss when dealing with the 10s. They don't instigate. They don't become a threat, right? They're a little too nice, a little too soft, because you're in that interaction with the 10, it's going kind of okay, and you're like, holy shit, this girl's so hot, what's going on? Maybe I want to keep her liking me, I don't want to ruin this. You start playing to not lose, you start playing safe, and what you do is you don't instigate. You don't become a threat. You don't challenge her frame, you just stay like nicely, softly in her frame and hope things will go your way. With a 10 especially, you must have a strong frame, you must assert your dominance, and you must threaten her frame, which means you need to make it about her most of the time, okay? At the very least, you need to make it something that's of value. So either teach her something about the world, teach her something about herself, or have some sort of opinion or insight relating to her. You literally have this one thing you do. Every time like you say something, like you make a point, you go like, your lip like, I can't do it. I'm gonna call you Popeye, is that okay? If you are instigating strongly enough, even if you're not yet perceived as a relevant authority, the threat will be enough to elicit a shit test. And when that happens, the shit test itself can be your catalyst to develop that high value frame. It can be your way to demonstrate the honest signal that you're not reactive, you can look her in the eye, and you can maintain your masculinity and maintain your frame. Okay, so that actually can lead to conveying that high status role. But you need to elicit the shit test. You need to get past the blasé. So what you need to do is take a risk, be willing to lose the set, make it personal to her. Get under her skin a little bit so that the blasé is no longer an option. That is absolutely critical to gaming those hard to get hot girls, okay? So, again, where do shit tests come from? They come from threatening the girl's frame. When you go in, you can't be this soft little influence on the periphery. You can't be this little nice floating cloud that doesn't affect her. You have to get in there, you have to get under her skin, you have to risk being hated because you need to be a relevant threat in some way, especially with the really hot girls, all right? Last little thing to note is that the other thing that is really going to threaten a girl's frame, aside from something philosophical or something personal to her, is an attempt to escalate, right? If you're trying to escalate the conversation, that will threaten a girl's frame too, because she was in this frame of, oh, I'm just having like a platonic interaction, or I'm just going about my day, and then all of a sudden she's feeling a masculine energy, a masculine sexuality. That escalation also can threaten her frame. And remember, there are 4 modes of escalation. When I say escalation, I don't just mean physical. I don't just mean touching her. What I mean is escalating the conversation from a platonic conversation to a conversation about a more sexual topic. That might elicit a shit test, right? Like, for example, if you were to ask a girl about the first time she was kissed, if she's a stranger, she might resist that. She might react negatively and try and push back against that. That's a shit test, right? Another one is if you escalate from talking about I and you as separate entities to talking about the idea of we. You bring up a we and she goes, we? What do you mean we? That's a shit test, okay? So you're escalating that intimacy level of the conversation. The other is logistics. If you try and move a girl somewhere or try and get compliance by like asking a girl to shake your hand, pulling her up from a seat, again, she might resist, she might give you a shit test on that. So that's the other way you can elicit a shit test, is by trying to escalate. And a lot of guys don't do that either. They have these soft sets, the 30-minute conversation in nowhere, where they never try and push forward, they never escalate. Nothing bad happens in the set, because they don't give it an opportunity to. They don't give an opportunity for anything bad to happen, but they also don't give an opportunity for anything really good to happen, okay? So what do you need to do again? When you're in the set, you need to be proactive. You need to be doing more to the situation than the situation does to you. Whether it is philosophically, with your frame getting under her skin and attacking her frame directly, or whether it is escalating and allowing that escalation to either be accepted, which is positive, or get resistance, which gives you an opportunity, all right? So that's everything you need to know about shit tests. Go out, get shit tested, pass them, and get laid. Take care. Till next time.